The red brake lights stretch ahead in a thin, patient line. The engine hums under your hands, steady and low, while rainwater slides down the windshield in narrow, uneven paths. A phone rests on the passenger seat, its dark screen turned upward as if waiting for something to happen. Traffic barely moves. A motorbike inches forward. A bus exhales a cloud of air. Somewhere beyond the glass, someone taps their steering wheel and then stops, as if remembering there is nowhere to rush to right now. Your phone gives a small vibration sound. It is soft, almost polite. A notification arriving in the middle of stalled cars and red lights, as if the day has found one more thing to place into your hands before it lets you go. You glance at it but do not pick it up yet. The rain keeps sliding down. The wipers move once, then again. The light changes to green, but the line does not shift immediately. For a moment, everything holds still, and the only thing moving is the faint sound of water running somewhere along the curve outside. The traffic light turns red again. By the time the cars begin to move, the sky has already dimmed a little. You pass through the last stretch of traffic and turn into the parking lot of the office building, where the afternoon feels quieter than it did this morning. The glass doors slide open and close behind people in slow intervals, as if even the building is easing into the end of the day. Inside, the hallway carries a faint echo of footsteps. Fluorescent lights hum above, not harsh, just steady. Your shoes make a softer sound on the polished floor than you expect, and for a moment you notice how long the corridor is when no one is rushing through it. The phone vibrates again in your hand. It is a small, familiar pulse. A message arriving before you have fully stepped out of the workday, as if the outside world has found the crack between office hours and the rest of your life. You glance at the screen this time. Just a preview. A line of text. Another reminder. Something to respond to later. The office at noon has a different face. Desks are still, chairs slightly pushed back. A half-finished cup of water sits near the edge of a table, condensation forming a thin ring underneath. From somewhere down the hall, there is the steady sound of running water in the pantry sink, someone rinsing out a mug before leaving. You set your bag down on the chair and stand for a moment. The air conditioner hums lightly, keeping the room at a temperature that no one complains about. Papers lie stacked neatly, a pen resting diagonally across the top sheet as if paused mid-sentence. There is no urgency here now. Just the quiet arrangement of things that have already been used today. The monitor is dark. The keyboard untouched. A calendar page turned halfway, caught between yesterday and tomorrow. The phone rests near your hand. Another small vibration sound arrives, brief and almost apologetic. You turn it over this time so the screen faces the desk instead of you, letting the room stay as it is without the light of it shifting the tone. In the pantry, the water keeps running. It is not loud. Just a steady stream against stainless steel, a reminder that someone else is still here, finishing up, moving at their own pace. You lean against the edge of the desk and listen without meaning to. There are days when leaving feels abrupt. Today it does not. The chair slides back under the table with a soft scrape. The blinds are tilted slightly, letting in a stripe of late afternoon light that reaches the corner of the carpet and stops there. You pick up the phone again, but you do not unlock it. Its weight is familiar in your palm. The smooth glass cool against your skin. The small world inside it waiting, as it always does. Outside the window, a car door closes in the parking lot. Someone laughs briefly. Then the sound fades. The building settles back into its usual quiet, like a long exhale that no one announces. You turn toward the door of your office and pause. There is nothing left undone on the desk that cannot wait until tomorrow. The running water down the hall finally stops, replaced by the softer sound of a cabinet closing somewhere out of sight. The light above you remains steady. Your phone gives one more muted vibration against your fingers, but this time you do not look at it at all. You walk to the wall, reach for the switch, and let the room dim into a softer gray. The light clicks off. The elevator doors slide open with a soft chime. A few people step in without speaking, each holding their own end-of-day silence. The mirror on the back wall reflects tired shoulders, loosened collars, a hand still wrapped around a phone that hasn't quite been put away. The doors close gently. For a few seconds, the small space hums with nothing but the faint mechanical movement and the distant sound of traffic filtering up from the street below. Your phone rests against your palm, its surface warm from being held too long. Someone's thumb scrolls. The light from a screen briefly touches the metal wall, then disappears as quickly as it came. You watch the numbers above the door change one by one, descending without hurry. The elevator stops at the lobby. When the doors open, the evening air slips in, carrying with it a faint trace of rain and the steady sound of cars moving past the building. Outside, the street is fuller now, headlights blinking on one after another like quiet signals to go home. You step out into the flow. The sidewalk holds the rhythm of people walking at different speeds. Some speak into their phones. Some look down at them. Some carry them loosely at their sides, as if unsure whether to hold on or let go. A small vibration sound trembles in your hand. It is subtle, almost lost beneath the distant traffic and the low murmur of voices. You glance down this time. A group chat. A short message. A question that does not need to be answered immediately. The crosswalk signal blinks red. You wait with a few others at the curb. A bus passes, water spraying lightly from its tires. Somewhere nearby, rainwater continues to run along the edge of the street, slipping into a drain with a steady, thin sound. The phone lights up again. The glow feels brighter against the dimming sky. You hold it for a moment, thumb hovering, then lower it back down without unlocking it. There will be time later. The signal turns green. You walk across with the others, steps falling into an unspoken rhythm. The traffic behind you begins to move again, engines rising and falling in patient waves. At the corner, a small food cart releases a soft cloud of steam. The smell drifts briefly through the air before dissolving into the coolness of the evening. Someone laughs nearby. Someone else adjusts their bag on their shoulder. You pause near your car before unlocking it. The parking lot is almost full now, each vehicle carrying its own small story from the day. Your reflection appears faintly in the window, layered over the rows of red and white lights beyond. The phone vibrates once more. This time you turn it in your hand, screen facing downward. The movement is simple, almost automatic, as if giving the moment a little more space to breathe. Rainwater continues to run somewhere along the pavement. You can hear it slipping between concrete seams, steady and unbothered by the pace of the people around it. The evening is not rushing, even if the street is. You unlock the car and sit for a moment before starting the engine. The interior holds a quiet that feels separate from the outside noise. The seat cushions settle under your weight. The steering wheel rests still in front of you. Your phone lies on the console now, dark and silent for a few seconds. The last of the daylight fades into a softer gray, and the first streetlights flicker fully awake. You reach for the overhead switch inside the car, and without thinking too much about it, you turn off the interior light. The small cabin falls into dimness. The light clicks off. The car moves forward in small stretches. Red lights gather again at the next intersection, lining up in patient rows. The steering wheel feels steady beneath your hands, and the sound of distant traffic folds into a low, even rhythm that does not demand anything from you. Rain begins again, softer this time. It lands on the windshield in thin, uneven threads before sliding down toward the edge of the glass. Somewhere along the curb, water keeps running, finding its way into the drain with a quiet persistence. Your phone rests on the console. Its screen is dark, but you can feel its presence the way you feel a closed door nearby. Another small vibration comes, barely noticeable against the hum of the engine. You let it stay. The red light holds. A pedestrian crosses slowly, hands tucked into a jacket. The crosswalk timer counts down without sound, only numbers changing from one shape to another. Inside the car, everything feels contained. The faint scent of rain seeps in through the vents. The seat fabric brushes lightly against your sleeve when you shift your arm. Outside, a motorbike passes, water spraying in a narrow arc behind it. The phone vibrates again. It is not urgent. Just another reminder that the day has not entirely loosened its grip. You glance at the screen this time. A message from the office. A follow-up. Something small that will likely wait until morning. The light turns green. You move forward, joining the slow flow of cars. The road curves gently, leading toward a quieter street where the buildings sit closer together and the sidewalks are nearly empty. There is a brief pause at another red light. The sky above has turned a deeper blue now, almost gray. Streetlights cast soft circles onto the wet pavement, each one reflecting faintly in the water gathered along the edge. The phone lights up again. The glow feels brighter against the darkening interior. For a second, it pulls your attention forward, asking to be opened, to be read, to be answered. You hold it in your hand. The glass is cool. The weight is familiar. Your thumb rests along the side without pressing anything. Outside, water continues to run along the curb, steady and unbothered. The cars ahead begin to move. You place the phone back down without unlocking it. The engine responds gently as you press the accelerator, and the city around you shifts from intersection to intersection without comment. A bus stops at the side of the road. Its doors open with a soft hiss, releasing a few passengers into the rain-damp evening. They step onto the sidewalk and disperse quietly, each heading in a slightly different direction. Your lane clears. The movement becomes smoother now, less interrupted. The buildings thin out, replaced by darker stretches of road and the occasional storefront still lit from within. Another vibration hums against the console. It is brief, almost shy. You do not reach for it this time. The sound of water outside, slipping along the pavement, feels closer to you than the words waiting behind the screen. The car turns into your neighborhood. Fewer headlights here. Fewer people. Just the soft reflection of streetlights on wet asphalt and the low murmur of engines passing at a distance. You park along the curb and sit for a moment. The rain has slowed to a faint drizzle. The windshield is dotted with small beads of water that catch the light and then let it go. Your phone lies still beside you. The last notification lingers unseen. You reach toward the dashboard, not toward the screen, and let your hand rest on the switch. The interior light glows briefly. Then, without hurry, you turn off the light. The light clicks off. The apartment door closes behind you with a softer sound than usual. Inside, the air feels still, as if it has been waiting without moving. The hallway light casts a pale circle on the floor, catching the faint outline of shoes lined up near the wall. You set your bag down quietly. The room does not ask any questions. It holds the shape of the day as you left it this morning, a chair slightly angled, a glass resting on the table, the curtain drawn halfway across the window. Your phone vibrates in your pocket. The small sound is clearer here, without traffic to soften it. You take it out and look at the screen. Messages stacked one above another, a few missed calls, nothing urgent at first glance. You place it on the table. The surface of the wood feels cool under your fingertips. From the kitchen, there is the steady sound of water running in the sink where a tap was not fully tightened earlier. The faucet releases a thin, constant stream. It falls into the metal basin and echoes gently through the quiet room. You walk over and turn the handle slightly, but the water continues to run in a softer, narrower line. For a moment, you let it be. The refrigerator hums in the background. The light above the stove casts a faint glow across the counter, touching the edge of a folded dish towel. Your phone lights up again. The glow reflects faintly against the wall. A new message appears, then another. The small vibration follows, brief and contained, like someone tapping lightly on a closed door. You stand by the sink and watch the water. It flows without pause, slipping down the drain, disappearing without needing to be acknowledged. The sound is steady enough to settle into the background, neither loud nor entirely silent. The day feels farther away now. Not gone, just less sharp. The office hallway, the elevator mirror, the red brake lights at the intersection, all of it seems to belong to another room you have already stepped out of. Your phone vibrates again on the table. This time you do not turn around immediately. The water continues its quiet movement. The kitchen light holds its soft edge over the counter. You dry your hands on the towel and walk back. The screen shows a preview of words that can wait. You slide the phone closer to the edge of the table, away from the center of your view. The faucet still runs. You return to it and finally twist the handle a little more. The stream weakens, but a thin thread of water continues, persistent and calm. The apartment is quiet except for that sound. Outside the window, a car passes slowly. Its headlights sweep briefly across the ceiling and then disappear, leaving the room unchanged. You sit down at the table. The chair creaks softly under your weight. Your phone rests within reach, face up now, but you do not touch it. Another vibration hums against the wood. It feels less insistent here, as if the walls have absorbed some of its urgency. You let the screen fade back to dark without reading anything new. The water in the sink keeps running, thinner now, almost like a whisper. You reach for the light switch above the counter, hesitating for a breath as the room settles around you. Then you press it gently. The kitchen falls into shadow. The light clicks off. The apartment settles into a softer quiet after the kitchen light goes out. Only the hallway lamp remains, casting a muted glow that barely reaches the corners of the room. The sound of water still runs from the sink, thinner now, but steady enough to mark time. You move toward the bedroom without switching on any new lights. The air feels cooler here. The window is slightly open, and from somewhere below, distant traffic hums in a low, continuous line that never fully disappears. Your phone rests in your hand again. It vibrates once, then stops. The small sound seems louder in the dim space, as if the darkness amplifies it. You sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress dips gently under your weight. The sheets carry the faint scent of detergent, clean but already familiar from many nights before. The phone screen glows against your palm. A message from earlier waits unread. A short line from someone at work. A reminder about tomorrow. Nothing heavy. Just the ordinary continuation of things. You place the phone beside you. The fabric of the blanket brushes lightly against your wrist as you shift. In the distance, a car door closes. The sound travels upward, soft and final. The faucet in the kitchen continues to release a narrow stream. It is barely audible now from here, just a faint thread beneath the distant traffic and the refrigerator's low hum. You notice it without needing to respond. Your phone vibrates again. The screen lights up, reflecting a pale rectangle on the wall opposite the bed. You glance at it and then let your gaze drift back to the window. Outside, The sky has darkened fully. Only a few windows in the neighboring building remain lit. One flickers briefly as someone passes in front of it, then steadies again. You lean back against the headboard. The wood is cool through your shirt. The room holds a quiet that feels separate from the office, from the road, from the elevator mirror. The phone buzzes once more. It is softer this time, or perhaps the room has absorbed some of its sharpness. You turn it over so the screen faces downward against the blanket. The glow disappears. The small vibration still reaches your hand, but without light, it feels less insistent, more like a distant tapping that does not require an answer tonight. In the kitchen, the water continues to run. You imagine the thin stream slipping into the drain, uninterrupted, steady in its own way. The sound blends with the faint murmur of traffic outside and the low hum of the apartment's quiet machinery. You stand up slowly. The floor is cool beneath your feet. You walk back toward the kitchen, guided only by the dim hallway lamp. At the sink, the water still flows. You place your hand under it for a moment. It is cool, almost cold, running across your skin before disappearing down the drain. The phone vibrates again from the bedroom. The sound reaches you faintly, softened by distance and walls. You do not turn back immediately. You twist the faucet handle a little more. The stream narrows further, then reduces to a thin thread, then to a drip. For a second, the room feels even quieter without that constant line of sound. You dry your hands on the towel and walk back toward the bedroom. The phone lies where you left it, face down, silent for the moment. You reach for the bedside lamp. The light pools briefly across the sheets, across your hand, across the dark shape of the phone resting beside you. Then you press the switch. The room settles into full darkness. The light clicks off. The darkness in the bedroom feels complete. No glow from the hallway now. No thin stripe of light beneath the door. Only the faint outline of the window, slightly paler than the wall around it. You lie back without turning the phone over. It rests beside you, screen down, its weight barely pressing into the mattress. For a few seconds, there is nothing but the quiet of the room and the distant, steady murmur of traffic far below. Then a small vibration hums. Soft. Brief. It travels through the blanket and into your arm, not sharp enough to startle, only enough to be noticed. You do not move. The sound fades on its own. In the kitchen, the faucet has finally settled into silence. No running water now, just the refrigerator's low, even hum somewhere beyond the wall. The day feels farther away here. The hallway at the office. The elevator mirror. The long line of red brake lights in the rain. They pass through your mind like images seen from a train window, present for a second and then gone. Your phone vibrates again. It is the same small pulse. A message arriving in the dark as if unsure whether it should disturb you. You turn your head slightly but do not reach for it. The ceiling above is barely visible, only a soft shadow against deeper shadow. The air in the room is cooler now, carrying a faint trace of night air through the open window. A car passes outside. Its tires move through damp pavement with a low, steady sound. The noise rises and then fades, leaving the room unchanged. Another vibration hums against the blanket. You rest your hand over the phone without lifting it. The shape beneath your palm is familiar, smooth, contained. The world inside it continues, but you are not inside it at this moment. Your breathing slows without effort. In the quiet, even small movements feel larger. The shift of fabric. The soft creak of the bed frame adjusting to your weight. The phone vibrates once more. This time the sound feels more distant, as if it belongs to another room entirely. You keep your hand resting lightly over it, not pressing, not turning it over. Outside, The city continues its low conversation. A door closes somewhere across the street. A motorbike passes and then is gone. The night does not rush. The room holds you without asking anything. No screens glowing. No lights overhead. Only the steady rhythm of your own breathing and the thin layer of silence that settles when the day has finished speaking. The phone remains still for a long moment. No vibration. No light. Just a quiet object on a quiet bed. You turn onto your side. The pillow shifts softly under your cheek. The blanket gathers slightly at your shoulder. The window lets in a faint breath of cooler air. It moves across your face and then passes on, leaving no trace. In the dark, the shape of the room becomes less defined. The edges soften. The ceiling blends into the walls. Even the outline of the phone beside you seems to disappear into shadow. There is one last small vibration. It hums gently, then stops. You slide your hand toward the bedside switch without looking. Your fingers find it by memory alone. There is no need to check anything else tonight. You press the switch once more, though the room is already dark. The faint standby glow disappears completely. The light clicks off. The room stays dark after the last small sound fades. No glow from the screen now. No thin line of light under the door. Only the quiet shape of the window and the slow rhythm of your breathing filling the space between the walls. The phone rests where you left it. It does not need to be turned over. It does not need to be answered. Its surface has cooled, no longer warm from your hand. Outside, a car moves through the street below. Its tires pass over damp pavement with a low, steady whisper, then disappear into the distance. The night closes gently behind it. There is nothing more to finish here. The sink is quiet. The hallway light is off. The office messages wait in their own time, somewhere far from this bed. You shift slightly under the blanket. The fabric settles around your shoulder. The pillow softens beneath your cheek. In the darkness, even the smallest movements feel enough. The air from the window moves once more across the room and then stills. Your hand rests loosely near the phone. You press the switch one last time, not to end anything, only to let the quiet remain. The light clicks off.